Hello everyone, good morning if it's morning for you. It's about 9 o'clock now. I'm gonna be going on my way to the gym, but before I went, I really wanted just to kind of sit down and explain everything that's pretty much happened since I uploaded my college dorm haul, because there's been a lot. So let's just kind of jump in, because there's a lot of things that have happened in like the last, 2 years, you know? Okay, so backtrack. So I made my college haul video. A few weeks later, I believe, since I filmed that video, my dad was admitted into the hospital, and some backstory is that in early 2017, he was diagnosed with lung cancer. When he did his PET scan, his whole body lit up, and we didn't really kind of know what was going to happen. He did chemo, but the chemo was causing his kidneys to fail, so then they had to stop. Then they started a different one, and then that one was also causing things to fail, and it just was not working. Like, the chemo just was not working. So my stepmom had planned a bucket list trip for him to go to New York and Boston, I think Philadelphia, and there's just a couple different legs on their trip. Is like the East Coast was like their main kind of place that they were trying to visit. One of the things my dad always wanted to do is he always wanted to go to a game at Yankee Stadium. So that was kind of like their main, I think that was the first thing that they started off with. I could be wrong. I don't really know their whole travel itinerary, but that's its own thing. Anyways, so I ended up so my dad got pneumonia, and then I went and visited him in the hospital. He was going to be fine because, like, he'd been in and out of the hospital so much that, like, you know what I mean? Like, you just kind of expect, okay, like, in a couple days he'll be out and it'll be fine, you know? So then he got out of the hospital, and then 2 weeks later they were supposed to leave for their trip to the East Coast with him having pneumonia. So, and I was supposed to start college, like, like a couple days before they were supposed to be leaving. So, life kind of went on. I, like, moved into my dorm. Like, I went to, my first 3 days of classes, and then my sister was going to have me drop her off at the airport because she was going to be meeting them in Boston. So I was up at, like, super early, like, hecka early, and then we ended up going, I dropped her off, like, really early, probably like around 3:30, but it was about 4 o'clock by the time in the morning, by the time I got back to my dorm, and I get a call from my stepmom saying, hello, your dad has been admitted in the hospital, but don't worry, everything is fine. It's just like a safety precaution, like, like, don't worry, like, go back to bed, enjoy your day, like, have a good day of class, like, everything's gonna be fine. So I'm like, okay, like, everything's fine, like, he'll be out of the hospital by the time I pretty much wake up, and I'll be fine. So then I get up around 7 o'clock because I had an 8 a.m. business class, and I get a call from her saying, like, your dad has been, like, they're going to be putting him in a medically induced coma. I don't know if you guys need to fly out and say your goodbyes. Like, it literally went from, like, one extreme, everything is fine, nothing's wrong, to, like, he might be dying. Like, it literally was just like that within a matter of a couple of hours. Like, his health was declining really fast. They put him in a medically induced coma because they were scared that he was going to have a heart attack because his heart was beating so hard, was working so hard, and he was having a hard time breathing, and they were just nervous that, like, other things were going to come from it, if, like, negative things, if they didn't, they didn't put him in a coma. So he was on a breathing tube, a ventilator, and I think that was about it. So anyway, I get this call from Laura, and I'm freaking out because my stepmom is a nurse, so she's been super calm this whole time. Everything's gonna be fine. Oh, it's whatever, like, nonchalant. And then all of a sudden she's panicking, and so then I start panicking, like, what's gonna happen to my dad? My cousin was going to UVA at the same time, so I told him what happened, and I also told, I called my mom because I was like, Mom, like, I think I need to fly out. Like, this is what's going on. I think, she said I might need to say my goodbyes. So she was working with 2 other members of our family, my favorite brother, Chris, and another family member, Troy, to kind of figure out everything that was going down and some flights to possibly get me out there. They were working really hard to make sure that I was going to be able to say goodbye if that was what it came down to. So, and then at this time, it's my first week of college. So my 3rd day of classes, I go to my business class, I kind of, like, carry out my day, but I'm like, am I just supposed to act like nothing's wrong? Like, act like the typical college student when my dad might be dying right now? Like, what do I do, So, I ended up packing a bag that night, and I emailed all my professors because I honestly thought I was just going to be coming back the weekend. Like, I thought, okay, like, it might be kind of bad, but, like, then I'll be fine, and then I'll just be coming back on the weekend. So I left on a Thursday, thinking I was going to return on Sunday, so I only packed for, like, a few days. It turns out that I ended up staying in New York for almost 3 weeks. About 3 weeks. So, like, I literally was just kind of recycling my clothes and, you know, and all this different stuff. But I flew out with my brother, Chris. And, yeah, we flew together and everything. And he was honestly my whole rock the whole time I was in New York. Like, he was just, like, my designated person. I feel like my sister and I both had a designated person, and Chris was my person. And, like, the reason I'm really doing as well with everything that I'm about to tell you is because of Chris. And he's my favorite big brother. You know, all my other stepbrothers pretty much know. But yeah, he's my favorite. So, especially after that, like, there's no way I could have gotten through that whole experience without him. But anyways, and then we had different family members that were going to be flying out to meet them anyway, so a lot of them changed their flights to meet in New York instead, because we were in the Bronx. So, basically, like, it's like my dad wasn't, like, producing urine, and then he wasn't producing waste, and, like, one thing would happen, like, he's producing urine today, but then 5 other bad things would happen. Like, it was just really bad. Like, just things were not going well, and I could kind of see it. It's like you pray and you hope for the best, and you pray that, like, you know, God will heal him, but at the same time, it's kind of like everything was just declining. Everything was failing. Everything was shutting down. All the doctors were telling us, like, you know, this is not going to go well. So, I ended up, so I stayed the whole time. So I flew in on that Thursday, and Sunday was his birthday, which was October 1st, and that was the last day to drop any classes. So, and get, like, a full refund. So, that Sunday, I made the decision to drop the term. And then my plan was just to return or try to come back and, you know, jump into things or do something. And I was in contact with U of O the whole entire time, and that's what kills me, again, about things I'm about to tell you. But anyway, so I ended up dropping the term to stay. And then on October 10th, we all kind of were on the same page towards, like, the very end. And we ended up deciding to take him off life support pretty much, and, like, take him off the ventilator and things like that. Because I was getting to the point where he's been on a healthy person being on a ventilator or a breathing tube for 5 days is critical. Like, someone my age, and I'm 20, is, like, it's critical. So for someone who's in their late 60s with all of these other health problems, there's just a very slim chance that he was really going to come off of it okay. He also had a minor stroke while he was doing it, because, like, you could kind of see his face was kind of drooping and things like that. So it was just, things were just not going good, and we kind of just all collectively decided that it was time for us to let him go. So my dad ended up passing away on October 10th. And even just talking about it, it doesn't feel like that happened to me. It feels like it happened to someone else, and, like, I'm just telling someone else's story. I think it's still part of, like, the denial aspect of grief. I'm not really sure, but it doesn't really feel like it happened to me. So I'm already hitting, like, 8 minutes, so there's a good chance I'm going to do 2 parts to this whole little video, or a couple parts, so it's not too long. But after that, I ended up flying home. And then I tried to return to U of O, and then it turned out that U of O had been charging me $25 a day for my dorm, from the time I moved in till they had proof I was there at the end of October, because that's when I had flown home and, like, you know, scanned my ID card and things like that. So, I think I used, like, my meal card or something, because I, like, was home hungry and I didn't have, like, money for food or whatever to, like, buy, like, outside, like, the thing. And so they ended up charging me $25 a day, which ended up being over, like, $1,000 that they had charged me, and I had only been in my dorm for, like, 3 days. So that was fun, and I'm still paying that off, unfortunately. And then, what was next? I ended up moving back home with my mom, and that didn't really go so well. It was hard going from having, like, being, like, kind of watched over, like your parentals watching over you, to having all this freedom back to the parentals kind of watching over you. And it was supposed to be like we were roommates, but it just ended up not being like that. And I just needed to be on my own and have that independence, and other things kind of led up to that. But I ended up moving I worked at Estee Lauder for a short period of time, and then I ended up moving to Eugene to live with my sister, and I lived with her for like a year, I want to say, a little over a year. And I ended up getting a job in Eugene at a property management company, and that was it'll be one of my favorite jobs I've ever had. I made the best friends. I loved my job. It was just so fun, and I loved everyone I worked with, and that company was amazing. Like, amazing. I don't think I'll ever work for another company that's going to be like that. I really doubt it. But what else? Yeah, so I worked there, and then that kind of leads into the next part where I met my husband, which I'm actually going to end it here because I need to go work out, and it's already hitting like 11 minutes. So I'm just going to upload this raw footage, and I'm not going to edit it. So I'm sorry if there's a lot of ums or pauses or whatnot. As I say again, but I'm just going to upload exactly what I have, and then I'll upload the next part where I met my husband and how I met him. It's kind of a weird story, but it's good. So I'm going to go to the gym now, and I will catch you all on the flip side. All right, I'll see you in part 2.